Hello everyone, and welcome back to the RDM English Podcast. Today's episode is something every English learner needs to hear, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. We're going to talk about this: why grammar alone won't make you fluent. Yes, you heard that right. Grammar. The one thing most of us have been told is the secret to mastering English, is not the key to fluency. Now, don't get me wrong. Grammar is important. It gives structure. It helps us form correct sentences. But grammar alone, without practice, emotion, and exposure, is like knowing the ingredients of a dish without ever cooking it. Let's begin with a question. Have you ever met someone who knows every grammar rule but still struggles to speak naturally? Maybe that person is you, or someone you know. They can explain tenses, identify adverbs, or correct others' mistakes, but when it's time to speak, they freeze. Why does that happen? Because fluency is not built by knowledge. Fluency is built by habit. Let's go back to how we learned our first language. Did anyone teach you grammar first? Of course not. You listened, you observed, you copied, and you spoke. Only after years of speaking did you learn what grammar was. You never said, "Oh, I'm using the past perfect tense." When you were 5 years old, you just said what sounded right, because your brain had absorbed the language through real examples. Now, here's the problem with most English learners. We try to reverse this process. We start with grammar books, worksheets, and tenses. We fill notebooks with rules but rarely use the language. So, we become grammar smart, but conversation poor. Grammar gives you correctness. But fluency comes from comfort. Let me tell you a story. There's a guy named Ethan. He spent 2 years learning English grammar online. He could explain every tense perfectly, even better than some teachers. But when he went to an interview, he got stuck. He said, was. He panicked, mixed tenses, and lost confidence. After that, he decided to change his method. He started listening to English podcasts every day, speaking a little daily, and watching English shows without subtitles. After 6 months, something changed. He was still making small grammar mistakes, but his confidence exploded. People started saying, "Ethan, your English sounds natural now." That's when he realized, fluency is not about perfection. It's about communication. You see, grammar is like the skeleton of language. It gives shape. But what gives life to that skeleton? Listening, speaking, and emotional connection. Think of it like music. Grammar is the sheet music. It tells you the notes. But fluency is when you play the music with rhythm, feeling, and flow. If you only focus on grammar, your English will sound robotic. But when you add rhythm and practice, it becomes alive. Here's the truth. Native speakers don't always speak with perfect grammar either. They break rules all the time. They say, "I ain't going," or "he don't care." Are those grammatically perfect? No. But do they sound natural? Absolutely. Because real English lives in how people speak, not just in how books describe it. Let's take another example. Imagine 2 people, Sarah and Michael. Sarah knows every grammar rule but speaks slowly and carefully. Michael doesn't know all the rules but listens and practices every day. Who sounds more fluent? Michael. Because fluency is not about correctness, it's about flow. So, if grammar isn't the key, what should you focus on instead? Let's look at the 3 real pillars of fluency. First, listening. Listening gives your brain real examples of English rhythm, tone, and emotion. When you listen often to podcasts, conversations, or shows, your brain starts to copy those patterns automatically. You don't think, which tense is this? You just know what sounds right. Second, speaking. You can't learn to swim by reading about water. You have to jump in. Similarly, you can't speak English by only learning grammar. You have to use it, even if you make mistakes. Mistakes are proof that you're learning, not failing. So speak daily, to yourself, to your friends, even to your mirror. Third, thinking in English. This is where fluency becomes natural. When you stop translating and start thinking directly in English, grammar takes care of itself. Your mind automatically picks the right patterns because it's used to hearing them. Let's do a simple comparison. Grammar learner says, "Wait, should I say I did go or I went?" Fluent speaker says, "I went." No confusion, because it sounds right. That's the difference between learning the rule and living the rule. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore grammar. Grammar helps you fix mistakes and understand the structure behind sentences. But the trick is, learn grammar through examples, not through memorization. For instance, don't just learn, present perfect. Listen to sentences like, "I've just finished my work," or, "I've been waiting for you." Hear them, feel them, repeat them. Your brain will automatically understand the pattern, without needing to remember the rule. This is how children learn. This is how native speakers grow. And this is how you can become fluent, naturally. Let's bust a myth here. Some people say, "I'll start speaking once I finish learning grammar." That's like saying, "I'll start driving once I know everything about cars." It never works that way. You learn by doing. You learn grammar better after you start speaking. Think about it. When you say something wrong, your brain notices the mistake faster than when you just read it in a book. Speaking gives you feedback. Grammar gives you clarity. Together, they create balance. Here's a good mindset to remember. Grammar is your map, not your destination. It helps you navigate, but it doesn't move the car. You do, by listening, speaking, and thinking in English every day. Let me share one more story before we wrap up. There's a woman named Olivia. She moved to Canada for work. She knew basic grammar but had trouble speaking. Instead of studying more grammar, she started joining English discussion groups online. She made small mistakes daily, but she never stopped speaking. After 6 months, she was leading meetings in English. Her grammar wasn't perfect, but her communication was powerful. That's what real fluency looks like, connection over correction. So, if you've been stuck studying grammar books and still can't speak freely, take a deep breath. You're not failing. You're just focusing on the wrong part. Start listening more, start speaking more, start thinking more. Grammar will follow you naturally. Let me leave you with this line. Grammar is the rulebook. Fluency is the game. You can't win by only reading the rules, you win by playing every day. So go out there. Play with English. Make mistakes. Learn from them. Because every time you speak, even imperfectly, you move one step closer to natural fluency. If this episode helped you see English differently, share it with someone who's been stuck in grammar for too long. And remember, speak confidently, not perfectly. Because fluency is not about knowing every rule. It's about connecting with every word. See you in the next episode. Until then, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep growing.